in aviation, a 10-year-old plane is absolutely brand new. I can't, you know, it's you won't even qualify that as Tokumbo. It's brand new, right? So we didn't see the need to spend all that money to buy brand new jets when we had something that is functional. And this is simply because Nonyoko na wabi ada choke, like they say in Imo, Nonyoko na wabi ada choke. You know, that is to say, your house can be on fire and you start out, you know, chasing rats. You know, if your house is on fire, you must look for a way to salvage things, the most important things in the home, or try at least to put the fire out. Okay? So Nigeria can be on fire, and you're talking about 21 billion Naira residential for the deputy president or vice president, however you call it. And Nigeria's economy cannot be on fire, and you're talking about buying brand new jets and buying yachts for the president. That's really very, very wrong. It's not only incompetent, but it shows that you really don't care what happens to Nigeria and Nigerians. And so that's actually pointing to the fact that you actually got in there to pillage the economy, to get all that you can get, right? But anyways, apart from what the political class is doing, Nigerians are doing a great job. I want to say this. Since the late 70s, early 80s, you know, many Nigerians were taken to travel to Saudi Arabia, especially doctors. Nigerian doctors travel to Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia had a shortage of qualified doctors. And so Nigerians came to the rescue. And so many Nigerian doctors traveled to Saudi Arabia, worked there for so many years, for as long as 30, 40 years. Many of them retired there. Many of them started their medical careers in Saudi Arabia and retired there. They actually salvaged, how do you call it, the medical sector in Saudi Arabia. Many of you may not know this. I'm going to take out another show to talk about this, but I'm going to delve right into it briefly. The same thing happened when South Africa gained independence in the 90s. Prior to this independence that South Africa got, the English, who were the colonizers of South Africa, did not allow South Africans to go to school. So many South Africans in South Africa did not have university degrees. And therefore, there was a shortage of skills and professionalism needed to run the brand new South Africa that just gained independence, right? And so it became clear that South Africans cannot meet that demand. And what happened? Many Nigerian professionals, doctors, engineers, teachers, lecturers, travel from Nigeria to South Africa to save the day yet again, right? And so that's why if you go to South Africa today, you'll find a great number of Nigerian professionals working in their governments, working in their institutions, working in the medical sector. They went there to help, right? And they actually salvaged South Africa because of the gap in professional providers, or workers, if you may call them that, at the time after independence. So when I hear South Africans actually insulting Nigerians today and calling Nigerians 419, calling Nigerians criminals and drug dealers, I want to say again, like I said the last show, that it's only just 2%. I don't think it's up to 2% of Nigerians that are actually doing crime globally, right? But they want to talk about the bad things that Nigerians do, and nobody talks about the beautiful things that Nigerians do. I've heard many South Africans criticize Nigerians on the internet for being drug dealers and being human traffickers. Nobody talks about the enormous number of Nigerian professionals working in different South African institutions, especially in their medical sector and engineering sector, right? So why would you want to call every Nigerian bad when there are so many good ones doing so many great things, in different countries? Now, that's the second case I just gave. I'm going to give you another situation right now. That is in the UK. A couple of years ago, the UK belonged to the European Union for so many years. Now, the last 3-4 years, I believe it was, the UK decided they were going to pull out from the European Union. Now, what happened is that when the UK was in the European Union, it allowed UK citizens to work in other parts of Europe, and member citizens of these other countries of the European Union could work in the UK without having to apply for special visas. All you needed to do is right there, register yourself, get your authorization from the city council, and then get yourself a job. And so you had many professionals working in the medical sector in the UK. You had many companies from these other European companies working in the UK as well, right? But after the UK decided to pull out, that meant that the rights that most of these other European citizens had to work in the UK was taken away abruptly. And so many of them had to return. So many of them shut down their businesses and returned to their countries. Many of their medical practitioners now had to leave the UK, and they left the UK. But at the same time, this coincided with the fact that the medical department of the UK wasn't paying so well anyways. And so even UK professionals who were working in the medical medical institutions had to leave the UK. Some went to Canada, some went to the US, some went to other European countries to go look for greener pastures. And so there appeared a vacuum in the medical sector in the UK, and it became clear to the Ministry of Health in the UK that they needed to get professionals really quickly, right? Because of this gap in the demand for medical, medical care providers. And then again, it was officially or unofficially launched, and Nigerians began to go there to fill, that position. And that's really why you saw many Nigerians in the last 3 years move to the UK. Caregivers, doctors, nurses, radiographers, people in the medical field, left their jobs here in Nigeria and want to take supposedly better jobs in the UK, right? And again, they salvaged the situation right there. It's just that unfortunately, many of them don't know that actually not everything that glitters is gold. So many of them are actually regretting going there now because the number of hours that they have to work is crazy and the pay isn't that great. But it's just that if you're in Nigeria and you hear the pay, you convert that pay to Naira, it looks like you have millions. But then you're forgetting that you're not going to be living in Nigeria. You're going to be living in the UK and paying the bills according to the realities of the UK. And so somebody that earns £2,500 monthly would end up having just about 250 left after he's paid bills, transportation, utility fees, rent, and transportation. You have just about £250, to feed yourself for the month. So it's really not a great a place to be right now. But yes, Nigerians went there and saved the day. So the point I'm trying to make is that many countries around the globe can tell you the great things that Nigerians have done to save their economy, salvage the different institutions, right? But we never get credit for all those beautiful things that Nigerians do globally. All we hear is all the bad things that the little minority of Nigerians are doing overseas. And like they say, bad things stick easily, right? Bad news spreads like wildfire. All you hear is the Nigerian who duped an American institution millions of dollars. All you hear is Mr. A, Mr. B, who is Nigeria, who is selling drugs in Pretoria. That's all you hear, right? But Nigerians are doing so many great things internationally in America, in South Africa, in Europe, and we are proud of these Nigerians, but it's just that we need to ring our bells more. We need to blow our trumpets more. We need to speak more about great things that Nigerians are doing, in different countries. I also want to point this out. You hear about polyphonic ringtones. Before the polyphonic ringtones were discovered, phones had very boring ringtones, right? You had a phone, a Nokia 3310, or any of those old mobile phones. They had very boring ringtones, right? It was a Nigeria that actually opened the door for the kinds of ringtones we have today, where you actually now can use music, as your ringtone. It was a Nigerian who actually discovered the first polyphonic ringtone, because he had a technical background, he had a technological background, and he was able to bring it this. Well, of course, he made a lot of money doing that, but actually he opened that door where today we have amazing music as, our ringtones on the different phones that we use. It was a Nigerian that did that. I told you last Wednesday of a guy, the first and the only guy, who took a fetus out of a mother's womb, operated on the fetus that was sick, right? Returned it to the mother's womb, sewed it up, and have the mother carry the baby full term, right? That was done by a Nigerian in America, right? I also told you guys about Emma Agwali, who is practically the founder of the internet. They call him the father of the internet because it was his technology and his mathematical calculations that actually gave birth to the internet, right? And then we hear about one that is here who actually wanted to run for governor of Enugu State, the last political dispensation, Professor Bath Nnaji, who is the first I think professor of robotics, robotics and engineering in the USA, the first black person to actually become a professor of robotics. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. But he is one of 3 best scientists globally. I'm not saying he's the third. He's one of 3. So that means he could be 1, he could be 2, he could be number 3. But if you mention 3 scientists globally today, that energy is one of them, right? And this is an evil man from Nigeria. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that Nigerians are great people. But then when you look at the economy of Nigeria, then you'd actually wonder, do we really have professionals in Nigeria? We do have professionals in Nigeria who can actually fix the Nigeria's economy. Now remember, Okonjo-Iweala was deputy director with the World Bank, right? And Obasanjo invited her to come and help, in his cabinet to help the Nigerian economy. When she got here, Nigeria was owing the Paris Club so much money that this debt was actually drowning the Nigerian economy and drowning Nigeria itself, right? Okonjo-Iweala came here, implemented some amazing economic principles. She did not only implement amazing economic principles that would see Nigeria's economy, rapidly grow, but she actually took a team and went to negotiate with the Paris Club, and we got a first debt cancellation that for the first time in my lifetime, I saw a Nigeria that was free of debt, right? But what did this ungodly and uneducated politicians do? Go right back and borrow some more. And today we owe much more than what we owed when Okonjo-Iweala negotiated debt relief, right? So it's not about a lack of professionals that Nigeria isn't working. It's not about a lack of competent people who can fix the Nigerian economy, fix education, and fix the medical sector, and fix everything that needs to be fixed in this country. We have people who can do it both in Nigeria and Nigerians living in diaspora. But it's just that we have mediocre leadership. People who are not qualified to be leaders are leading the country, right? We have people in the Senate House who should never have been politicians, who should never have been in the lawmakers' chamber. Sitting in the lawmakers' chamber, doing next to nothing. They don't know what they're doing there because a lot of them are not educated, right? We saw the Senate president trying to call a figure on a document that was important to Nigeria's economy, and he couldn't call it. It was a figure in the trillions, and he could not put it together. The Senate president could not read a figure on a paper given to him to read concerning Nigeria. Why is he the Senate president? If you're not educated enough to call billions and trillions, what are you doing there? That's the kind of leader we have. A person making decisions on Nigeria's, Nigeria's welfare and well-being in general. He shouldn't be there, right? And that's the same thing we see in the presidency. People who are just sycophants, singing praise to the presidency. Even when things are not going right, they're sitting there singing praise. The same Akpabio stood up and said that when you guys go out to protest, we will be in our homes eating. Insensitive statements that will tell you that these people are not only incompetent, but they are just not fit to be leaders. But these are the people who are actually making decisions concerning the affairs of Nigeria. How does this country ever move forward? How is this country ever going to move forward? And so that is why it looks like Nigeria has become a joke in the Committee of Nations. Africans are making fun of us. South Africans are making fun of us. Ghanaians are making fun of Nigeria. And yet Nigeria was the giant of Africa. Nigeria did everything it could to save South Africa from the apartheid regime. Nigeria spent $60 billion to save South Africa from the apartheid regime. And today South Africa is making fun of Nigeria because we have incompetent and mediocre leaders. And so that's what the problem of Nigeria is. But I cannot fail to give kudos to Nigerians doing great things within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. Kudos, keep it up.
Okay, that's it for the discussion segment.